What if one night you go to sleep with a gun in your nightstand and in the morning it is just gone? What if all weapons in the world vanished overnight? Would we wake up in a peaceful world or would it be the start of a new era of warfare? Let's find out. Military collapse. An army is only as powerful as its weapons. Without them, even the most trained soldier is just a civilian. In a matter of seconds, every single weapon in every single military base across the globe would vanish. Helicopters would fall from the sky, tanks would become useless, fighter jets would turn into expensive scrap metal, armies would wake up without a single bullet or shell, and in the blink of an eye, the entire global defense system would collapse. Defense contractors would watch their multi-billion-dollar projects disappear into thin air, and they wouldn't be able to do anything about it. After all, what are you going to do? Call the cops? They'd have to. Without guns, the police force would be no match for heavily armed criminals. Crime and policing. The disappearance of firearms would be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it would mean that mass shootings and gun terror would become a thing of the past. On the other hand, it would spell disaster for law enforcement agencies who would suddenly find themselves outgunned by the very criminals they are supposed to be protecting the public from. Thieves would still need tools to break into homes and cars, leading to a rise in the black market for improvised weapons like crowbars and hammers. Armed robberies would be replaced by smash and grabs as people took desperate measures to get their hands on whatever they could find to use as weapons. And all the while, the police force would be left with only their fists and their wits to fight back. It'd be every man for himself in a world without weapons. Global power shift. Some countries would actually benefit from this sudden disarmament. For example, the United Kingdom would wake up to find its entire nuclear arsenal vanished. That is because the UK's power was largely based on the threat of mutually assured destruction during the Cold War. Without weapons to threaten its enemies, the UK's influence would quickly fade away, but not all countries would suffer the same fate. Those that had managed to acquire weapons of mass destruction through less conventional means would still possess them. North Korea, for example, had reportedly built several nuclear warheads before the unimposed sanctions on the country, so it would still possess those weapons even if the rest of the world didn't. It's unlikely that North Korea would use them, though. It is much more likely that it would leverage them to gain some sort of advantage. In the New World Order, new conflicts gone would be the days of tanks and troops as the rules of engagement would change dramatically. The wars of the 21st century would be fought with cyber attacks, economic sanctions, and biotechnologies rather than bullets and bombs. Conflicts would be settled not by military might but by whoever could exploit the chaos and emerge with the most power. Rogue states and non-state actors would become the new superpowers as they used unconventional tactics to achieve their goals. Instead of invading a country, the new method of warfare would involve crippling their infrastructure, economy, or even their life support systems. It would be a new kind of arms race where the victors would be decided not by the size of their armies, but by the strength of their intellect and their ability to manipulate the world around them. Hope and fear. The disappearance of weapons would be met with mixed reactions. While many would celebrate the prospect of living in a world without the threat of nuclear war or the constant threat of violence, others would see it as an opportunity to exploit the chaos and build their own empires. Some would view it as an act of God, a sign that the world was changing and that violence was no longer the answer. They would rally together to build a new world order based on peace and understanding. Others would see it as their chance to strike at their enemies and seize power. They would use any means necessary to achieve their goals, whether it be through subterfuge, manipulation, or brute force. In a world without weapons, the balance of power would be fragile at best, and it would be up to the nations of the world to decide whether they wanted to preserve the peace or plunge the world back into conflict. What do you think would happen if all weapons disappeared overnight? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more such intriguing videos.